Okay, so we are going to go over how to assemble your quilted Christmas stocking. We have already made our two quilted pieces. We're going to put them right sides together and start at the top, go all the way around the stocking, and back up to the top. We're not going to stitch over the opening of the stocking, and always do a nice back stitch at the beginning and the end of your stitches. Then you can clip the corners, not the corners, the curves of your stocking, inside and outside curves. Clipping them helps it lay flatter, not pucker and bunch up. Now, also before moving on to assembling the entire stocking, I would put your hanging loop in place with a few stitches. This will keep it from sliding out of place and ending up with crooked stitches and and all that jazz. So there you go. Now you can set that aside. If your machine does not like to stitch over a lot of bulk, you could use a nice cross grain ribbon for your hanging loop as well. Now for the lining piece, I traced the pattern onto the back side of the lining, which is hard to tell because it does not have a print on it, so the right and the wrong side are the same. You're going to stitch all the way around like the quilted part, except you're going to leave a little opening. This is how we're going to turn it all around. Make sure you back stitch at the start and stop of all of your stitching. Again, you want to go and clip all of your curves so that they will lay nicely when we put the whole thing together. So we're just going to clip, clip, clip. Okay, now we have the quilted outside and the inside piece set and ready to go. Just like when you're making a bag, the outside piece will be inside out, as we have in front of us, and the lining piece, the inside, is going to be right side out. So here we go. We're going to turn that lining piece right side out so that the seams are on the inside. Okay, it doesn't matter so much about having everything lay perfectly. We just are interested in the top part of it because that's what we're going to be stitching right now. Okay, so we can go ahead and now set that inside our quilted stocking. Okay, just move that inside to get the bulk of it out of the way because we want to line up the seams. So we're going to line up the back seam. And I just used some Wonder Clips for this part. A little bit of hindsight here. I wish I had pressed the seams open. As you can see, I'm struggling a little bit to get that open to lay flat. So once I have that, I'm going to put some Wonder Clips on it, hold it in place, put one on either side there. Okay, and then once we have that set, we're going to move to the other side of the stocking and line up the other seams. Again, really wish I had pressed the lining seam open, but this one worked a little bit easier. So here we go. We have that open and getting our clips in place. Now you can continue putting your Wonder Clips all the way around the top of the stocking. I don't pin or clip a lot of things that I sew, but when there are many layers and a lot of bulk, I'm definitely going to use a lot of Wonder Clips or common pins to keep everything in place. So once we have that all set, we are ready to go over to the sewing machine. And for something like this, I'm going to go with what I call a generous seam allowance, and that will probably be about a 1/2 inch, because when you have a lot of layers like this, things tend to move or bulk up, and it's just easier if I give a little bit of extra. So we're coming off the machine now, and I'm going to trim some of the excess off of there. Okay, now for the magic. We are going to reach in and pull out the lining. Okay, and then we're going to find the opening that we left along the back side of the stocking and gently reach in. I'm going to go all the way for the toe here and start pulling that right side out, nice and gentle. I mean, we did backstitch here and there, but we still want to be careful that we're not stressing any of the seams that we have. So just carefully pull that right side out. Here we go, it's almost out. Okay, and before we tuck the lining in, we are going to close the opening. Okay, let's see here. Get the lining piece. And we're going to press that nice and flat before we stitch it. A word of caution, when you are ironing seams and things like that, when you're going to be putting your fingers near the iron, it's a good idea to turn the steam off, which I had not done until I kind of steamed my fingers a little bit. So make sure that you do that. That steam sure is hot. Okay, just went over to the machine and stitched that closed. So now we are nearly done. We are going to push the lining inside the stocking and get everything to lay nice and flat. I did then iron the top part of the stocking to give it a good press and have it lay nice and flat. You could also do a top stitch there if you'd like. I didn't, and it just didn't feel necessary, but I do usually put a top stitch on a bag or other pieces that I'm making. But it looked fine without one, so it's really just a preference at that point. But yeah, like a good press with the iron seemed to do the trick to get it to lay nice and flat. So that's just about it. I did have to go find some tape because I couldn't find my lint brush to get all the lint off of this, because it's been turned inside out and touching the batting and everything else. So lots of lint everywhere on the stocking, but aside from that, it is so super cute. I just have to find someone to give it to.